Hey guys, this is Mr. H. I am going to do question number 23, and I'm going to show you how to use the calculator. You have to use the calculator in order to come up with the correlation coefficient, and I'm going to show you how to come up with that number. Right, so this question says that they give us a table, and it has two columns. One is the total number of hours that were spent on electronic devices. And the other column is the math test score. So they tell you that this data models a linear regression. So they're telling you it's going to kind of look like a line. It's not going to be perfectly linear, but it's going to be like a line. And then so they say, what is the correlation coefficient to the nearest 100 for these data? Now, one of the things that we're going to go over is we're going to understand what correlation means. And basically, correlation means what's the strength of the relation between two variables. In this case, they're saying if someone has a bunch of electronic devices like phones, iPads, computers, and other things, and if they're spending a lot of time on their devices, then what do you think is going to happen to their test score? And basically what you should know is that the more time you spend on your phone, more time you spend on your iPad, the more time you spend in watching movies and Netflix on your computer, you're not going to have as much time to study for your math test. And consequently, your score will go down. So the more time you spend on your electronic devices, your score should go down. That is what they want you to understand. So there is what we would say a inverse relation. So when the time that you spend goes up, your score is going to go down. So it's got to, they go in opposite directions. And also the less time you spend on your devices, the higher your score is going to be, because now you can devote more time to studying. Basically, that's what this question is basically I'm telling you. So without even doing any calculations, I know that the answers have to be either one or two, because that indicates a negative correlation, which means the two variables work in opposite directions. But we still need to be able to figure out what it is. So this is how we're going to do it. So let me go get the calculator. And first thing, I've already, oops. I forgot to do this. Let me get rid of this because I don't need this. I've already put the time, I've already keyed in all the data ahead of time for these 2 points. You guys already know how to use the spreadsheet, so you're basically going to put these two in. This would be the X column. The time is X. The score is Y. And now what we're going to do, normally what we would do is we would go to the home screen and we would do a scatter plot. But because we already know that this is going to be a linear regression, we're going to use something else. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to menu, and then we're going to go to option 4, and then we're going to do option 1 for stat calculations. And you see here, it has all of these choices for us to choose. Now we know it's a linear regression, so we're going to choose option 3, right? And the only thing that you need to do now is you need to tell the calculator where you stored the X data and where you stored the Y data. So we stored the X data in time, the time column, and we stored the Y data in score. And now all we have to do is press OK, and it's going to calculate the linear regression equation and the correlation coefficient. So let me show you exactly what's here. So if you look at this, let's go all the way to the top. It tells you that the equation is in the y equals mx plus b format. So this is linear. And it tells you that the slope, or the common difference, is a negative 4.86. And it tells you that the y-intercept is 101.050. We don't need any of these things. What we actually want is this value right here, this R, that's the correlation coefficient. So if we go over, we can see that it's a negative 0.9771. If we round it to the nearest hundredths place, it's going to be a negative 0.98. So if we go back to this, we would choose number 1. Now, one more time. These two variables, the time spent on electronic devices and the math score, are basically, they work in opposite directions. So, for instance, if you look at this guy, he spent 3 hours on his electronic devices, and his score was 85. This person spent only 1 hour on their device, their score is higher. This person right here spent 0 hours, his score is higher. So basically what they're trying to show you is the more time you spend on these devices, the less time you have to study. Now look at this guy here. He spent 7 hours on his device. His score was the lowest. He scored a 65. So basically what they're saying is there's a strong correlation between the amount of time that you spend on your devices and your math score. So basically that's it. So I am going to create another video on how you do linear regressions, how you come up with a correlation coefficient, what a strong correlation is, what a weak correlation is. I want to go through all of that. So I'm going to create another video. But for now, this is how you would answer this. Just go calculate the correlation coefficient and find it in the multiple choice. All right, I'm going to sign off.